I just want to say this. PSG, you guys went bold. You got Rems, you got Hakimi, you got Wijnaldum, you got Messi. Like, for crying out loud, like, drop the mic. And I want to say this too. I was thinking about this all week. How must Guardiola feel with this? Guardiola must be fuming. And I'm not going to say, like, that Jack Grealish wouldn't have happened.
Right.
But if Guardiola had the opportunity of picking between Grealish and Messi, I'm sorry, Jack.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I don't think there's any question there, and you could almost hear it in his voice when he was asked the question. Hey, you know what? That's how we felt when we recorded the podcast on a Thursday and the news came out. Hey, sorry, Pep. That's the way the world of football works, right?
True.
Unbelievable. And him taking the number 30, going back to his early years, how cool is that? So it's funny. The shine might have like rubbed off a little bit, and the craziness of it all. But we're watching that PSG game yesterday. And here I am. They put the camera on the luxury box where Leo Messi is, and he's sitting next to Neymar. He's sitting next to Angel Di Maria. And I'm like, I think there's more money in that luxury box than there is on the pitch, right?
and did you see, like, that Messi was going to get paid with cryptocurrency too? Like,
I did
the ways that PSG find to get the wages of these players. Like, PSG hustling. PSG hustling. Like, it's that is a fact. But and I wanted to highlight this comment too, because it's a player that me and you, we love him.
Mm-hmm.
And Messi, straight away I think it was the first conversation he had as a PSG player, he mentioned that he loves Verratti, and that Barcelona tried to sign Verratti as a Xavi and Iniesta replacement.
Yeah.
So I love that, because it shows that Messi, when he's coming to PSG, he's coming with the clear intent of winning and Champions League. He's thinking of that. Having Verratti and Wijnaldum, like, I just loved when he spoke about that.
And who knows? Maybe it's mind games, those positive mind games where he's maybe fluffing somebody up like that, making their head feel bigger, making them ready to go. But that does work. We all know Verratti is phenomenal. I don't know if he's Xavi Iniesta phenomenal, but if Messi says it, I believe it, frankly. So,
I have a question. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about Poch? Because now with Messi, Neymar, Mbappe, maybe he'll leave, but still, there's a huge list of stars at PSG. The pressure that Pochettino has, in my opinion, is huge. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think, and I actually did wrestle with this. I was thinking, like, this is kind of a one and done type of situation. And then you kind of think of where they're all coming from. This is like a football manager save in that sense, because this is a lot of ego put in one place, right? And this is a massive change to the fabric of the team, even though it are two guys that personified the previous club that they were at, right? Sergio Ramos at Real Madrid. Hell, you could even say that Donnarumma at AC Milan, he became the talk of the town solely because of the crazy contract situation. But you have to fit all those pieces together. There's so much talent there. But we've seen a lot. I don't know if we've seen this type of talent on the field, but it takes time for this talent to gel, right? So I think this year, I don't think he's going to get a free pass per se if they go out in the round of 16 or something. But I think he's going to get at least a year and a half, unless, of course, or a season and a half, unless, of course, they absolutely stink it up somehow, some way. But I think Leo Messi has the ability to do it on a rainy night in Lorient, right? I think he can figure this out. So I don't know. I think if Poch, if he doesn't win the Champions League in the first year, if he gets to the final, gets to the semifinal, do you think he's going to go?
The pressure. Like, how many years do we have with Messi?
Yeah.
How many years do we have with Poch?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's true.
It's like, I feel like regardless of the year, if you don't win a Champions League with this team, you're out. Yeah. I feel like that's going to be the criteria.
Fair enough.
Because Liga, It's already a guarantee. It wasn't with Lille. Lille won it. Okay, Lille won it, and
Yeah.
Nice, like that goes for the standouts. But like it's, yeah, you have Pochettino has to win the Champions League with this team. It's regardless of Mbappe goes or stays, like you have to win it with the team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So let's talk about the perspective now of Barcelona. Okay,
Sure.
because how are Barcelona going to fill this gap in your opinion? Like, what's going to happen?
Well, if you take a look at their bench for today's opener, and I've already forgotten who they're playing, but if you take a look at their bench, you see how they're going to do it in the interim, and that's kind of what we've all been wanting over the last few years. That's dig into La Masia. You got Gavi on the bench, right? You have Alejandro Balde. You've got like a bunch of guys that are these kind of keynotes of La Masia. So I hope that they do that in the interim. Let Depay. I mean, frankly, they don't really have the cash to do otherwise, right?
Mm.
So I don't, I don't know, but if they lean on their academy, yeah, they might not be winning La Liga anytime soon, but they're still very good enough to fight for European football, right? I mean,
Yeah, if they concentrate, in my opinion, the midfield, they are so lucky in having Pedri now. Like getting Pedri last year is the
mhm,
biggest blessing that Barcelona had in
yeah,
the recent years, because now any midfield that we're gonna plan in the future with Barcelona, we're gonna plan with De Jong there and
yeah,
with Pedri there, and
mhm,
the other piece, I don't know what it is. Gnat would have been perfect for any missing piece in midfield.
yeah.
If you complete it with Ignat, you're really well. But I feel like they have to do something there. They'll have to get a player there. Like
It-
Gabi, he's very young. I love Balde and Gabi. I even mentioned him in like one of our first podcasts, FC Wonderkid
yep,
podcasts,
yep,
that he was one to come up and
mhm,
play. I wasn't expecting him to play so soon.
no,
So, but I do feel like they'll maybe Gravenberch. My
yeah,
ideal player would be Gravenberch next to De Jong and next
yeah,
to Pedri. But
yeah,
they need to find a solution. And I want to highlight this again. Griezmann.
mhm,
It's now or never.
yep,
Griezmann, there's no Messi. The spotlight is on Depay and Griezmann. If they
mhm.
don't make it happen,
Well, I don't know. I don't know. That's a lot to put on the shoulders of Memphis. I mean, Memphis was only at Lyon previously, so he hasn't necessarily done it yet. And Griezmann obviously hasn't looked like his. Well, I don't know. We don't need to necessarily. We're going to be able to talk about that as the season progresses.
it's the
But
wages. Like
but the,
I say that because like what Griezmann is receiving is big
sure.
player money.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
and the fact of the matter is like Depay wouldn't have even been on the pitch today if they didn't confirm that PK pay cut. So it's just absolutely unbelievable that it's all gotten done under the wire, and that we're talking about this with a with a massive club like Barcelona, like Meshkeon club, right? It's
and
kind of
Aguero. Did you see what
yeah,
Aguero?
yeah, it's bizarre.
Like
It,
Aguero wanted to leave because he was
yeah,
promised. And to be fair, I get you, Aguero. You were promised
mhm,
that you were going to play with Messi, and
yep,
now it's going to happen. And no, like,
yeah.
yeah, it's
And while Angel Di Maria is sitting there going like, "Hey, this is like the perfect summer for me. I actually play in a final and help my team win the Copa America and end a drought, and then I get to play with a guy that I kind of carried on my back for that game. I'm just kidding. That was being sarcastic for the Copa America final, but I mean, come on, Di Maria's having the best summer while
it's
Aguero's
true.
like, what the F did I just sign up for?
It's
Right?
true. It's true. It's true. Like Di Maria is one of those players. Like when I'll be speaking about underrated players that no one is in 20 years' time that no one highlights. Di Maria, Cavani. These are players that marked the generation, and like they're so underrated. And if you speak about the final, like in the
Yeah.
future, people won't focus maybe on Di Maria,
No.
and he was crucial.
Yeah.
That's so true.
It was
So
all about
true.
Messi getting his hardware, and but I'll tell you what, um, it's a changing of the guard potentially. I mean, this really does feel we've talked about for the last 4 or 5 years that, when Xavi and Iniesta and all them retired and went off and did their things, we talked about Barcelona essentially being dead in the water. It hung on for a little bit longer than we expected, but yeah, this is for real, the changing of the guard. And it's going to be really, really interesting to see where all this goes. Especially with the new talk of just having a salary cap and a luxury tax, kind of like American sports, right? Instead of the financial fair play moving forward, because you might still be able to get those teams that essentially say, okay, if the salary cap is 300 million, we have to pay this much into a pot that then gets put out into other clubs that take part of either European competitions. Mm-hmm. That's going to be really interesting, because then you get a little bit of revenue sharing. And if you get PSG that says, hey, here's a $500 million worth of salary, we're 200 million over the luxury or over the salary cap, then you're spreading that money elsewhere. Right.
I can't see that happening so early.
We'll see.
That's very hopeful, because like in the American system, you have the high schools and the universities who provide the athletes. Who provide the athletes in football? That is the key. The development of these players are provided by the clubs. So there's a lot of chit chat towards that. Like that is kind of like a possibility, but I can't see it more than that right now. But talking about Barcelona and a mess, we could talk about another Italian club, They're just kind of a mess, right? Like, you want to guess it?
We'll go with a little club called Inter Milan. No, absolutely unreal. And this comes down to ownership and where their clubs, owners are located as well. There's been a crackdown there. COVID hit. But yes, it's been unbelievable. It started, probably the shot across the bow was what Antonio Conte basically saying like, oh, wait, I'm not going to get the type of control I deserve after bringing you the Scudetto. Excuse me. And then, then the dominoes start falling. And it's sad to see that go. Opens up, we'll talk about Serie A in a little while. But yeah, a little somebody, Romelu Lukaku, winds up leaving. Like you called it. You said it. I was a little bit, I didn't expect it. I was a little surprised. But man, they were willing to pay. And
it's Abramovich. Abramovich wanted a striker 100%, so he had to get it, Brendan. Like he fills the needs. Like he's a billionaire that doesn't like to feel like he doesn't have something. He needs to have everything. Like
and he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the narrative that 10 years ago you signed the same exact player. Obviously, greener. He was 18 then, I believe. But yeah, you're right. It's like, hey, I paid what 18 million for him 10 years ago, and I'm gonna pay 100 million more than that this time around. So
and yeah, you mentioned that you for sure you saw that clip. Like there was a clip that was shown that was shared by Anderlecht that it's Lukaku being shown Stamford Bridge with a guide, and he wanted to stay to look at the pitch more. Lukaku wanted to stay because he was visualizing it, and then the guy said, "Oh, you're dreaming there." He said, "No, mate, I'm not dreaming." Like he said it, "I'm not dreaming." No laugh, no anything. No. And like you love those stories. Like,
of course,
congratulations, Lukaku. Like you can, and there was even a interview that he revealed that he was going to sign up for Chelsea before United, but then there was problems with the paper. I don't know what happened, but he was going to Chelsea. He had a house in London already.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And he went to United. So Chelsea, you got your striker, fantastic buy. But going back to Inter, I want to say this though. Like the moment that Conte left, you're right. Yeah. The domino effect, like all the pieces started to go because Inter didn't have money, and Conte knew that. And the moment he knew that, he said, "I'm gonna bounce. My reputation is here, and Inter are gonna go down a bit because they can't reinvest, and these players are gonna leave." Like, but I like to highlight this. They did a good transfer. That was Dumfries. Like Hakimi leaving for 60 million, and you're getting Dumfries for 12.
Yeah,
that is good business. Okay?
It is good. Very
and
good.
If it wasn't like because they had to sell, I would say like that's smart. And if you're going to reinvest that in another place on the pitch, I'm
Mhm.
like that's smart business though. That's
It is.
smart business.
It is, you know, and they also went out and I think within like 3 days got Aiden Dzeko from Roma. So you know, I know that's more of a stopgap, but it does show that they're willing to play this game here. If you're liquidating all of our best assets, we're going to find somebody that's going to allow us to be a solid team. Do I think they're in contention again? I don't know, but yeah, it's just whether or not Lautaro they can keep Latara, right? Whether or not they can keep him.
And I'd be Barella. I think the biggest player should be mad, the most mad is Barella, because
Yeah,
Barella can play in any place in the world.
that's
That's
true.
the truth. Barella has a spot in every team in the world.
Yeah,
And if he's looking at his team, he's seeing everybody leaving. I look at himself and say, "Whoa, I'm too good for this."
right.
Like I'd be worried, Inter fans, with Barella. But you guys didn't deserve that. Like you guys were champions, and then your coach leaves, and there's no investment from the board. Like
Right.
that is very sad. I
And
really feel you guys.
that really does come down to who owns the club. I think it's Suning, right? And it's
Oh,
tough. It's tough, and it happens. It feels like it happens to Lille every year, whether they finish first or third. But absolutely unbelievable kind of.
some clubs
That's
have to
like
do that.
number in any normal off season. That would be like the top story, right? But this offseason, I don't know what the hell happened, but someone said, you know what, screw it. We're going to flood the market with crazy headlines. And that's exactly what just happened.
Yeah,
Um,
we're having headlines non-stop, and
I know.
with crazy headlines, maybe we're gonna have the craziest headline next week,
Could
and
be.
that might be in England
Mhm.
with Tottenham. Like they seemed really good without Harry Kane, and 150 million. That's the talk right now. Man City are preparing a bid for Harry Kane of 150 million. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's egregious. It feels egregious. That's 200 and what 265 million between two players.
Hmm.
You can't tell me even in this day and age, even it being a modern footballer type of situation, like you can't tell me that's that's ludicrous. And I get it. It might be a situation of Pep saying, "I need this, I want this,"
Hmm.
and them listening. But ultimately, it's just too much, way too much.
I'll be
They
honest.
do
I
have a
think it
striker
wasn't
problem
Pep.
now.
No, they do fix a lot of problems by getting, especially Harry. Yeah, Harry Kane is the biggest problem, but
Sure.
Jack Grealish, he does fill the gap of marketing,
Yeah.
and Grealish is an image, an icon in England, and
Yep.
everybody sees Grealish as a good guy because he is a good guy. Like he has a laugh with the lads. He drinks a bit here and there, like everyone. Like he has a night out. He has fun. Like Grealish is the people's person, and I
Sure.
think by City, because I remember when I was a kid seeing Van
Mhm.
Persie go to United,
Sure.
and that was a big boss move by United by getting the one of the best players in the league to United. And I feel like this is the same now with City. City, by signing the best players in the Premier League, they're saying we're the best club right now in the Premier League.
Yeah.
United, you're not the same. Liverpool, come on, you guys need to invest. And
Yeah.
yeah, no one comes close to us because the best players come to us. And
Yeah.
that is scary because we're changing our generation. Okay, the future generations of football might be City fans now.
Mhm.
Arsenal fans, like Arsenal is in a very tough situation now, and like clubs are doing bad decisions in terms of they have to sell, like we were talking about Inter, and Arsenal is letting go of Joey Willock, a
Mhm.
player like they need goals from midfield, and Joey Willock is leaving on for
Mhm.
20 million.
Yeah.
Like
More. Yeah.
it's
For
it's horrible.
Newcastle too. For Newcastle.
Oh, it's we got oh my days. Like it's
It's tough. It really is. And no, I think you're right. I mean, it's a destination because you do believe, hey, we know they're going to win the Carabao Cup every year, right? So you get that piece of silverware. The Premier League, what they've won 3 in the last 4, something like that, right? So okay, yeah, that's great, but they still don't have the elusive Champions League. So it kind of comes down to the fact that the Holy Grail is still out there. They need to grab it, and they want it done sooner rather than later. and they're going to spend 265 million plus. Now we've done this, on Twitter. We went through, and you went through last time in the podcast. We went through Chelsea's list of exits, right? And we know we're probably going to be adding another to that in the form of Tammy Abraham. But you can do the same thing with Manchester City, right? They have assets to send out the door because they basically hoard really good players, really good young players. They loan them out and then they sell them off, or they sell them off because, football is crazy inflation where, a $2 million player 5 years ago is now worth 15, even if it's the same damn player. But like they got 18 million for Angelino, right? I think that's the right number. So there was money in the door, but we still have over our heads what's going to happen with this financial fair play ruling, right? And I don't know if it's going to be negative or positive. I don't know what the deal is, but the fact of the matter is they're still looking at them. So you might as well go to town and buy the best player, right? But if they don't get the Champions League, it's over. It's done.
Yeah, it's so true. Like Man City, Chelsea, like they're doing phenomenal business with these players. And even Sancho, like he left Man City to Dortmund for 8 million. Like, and if Sancho wouldn't have turned out the player that he is today, we would be saying, oh, they get money here and there, 8 million like Sancho. You see? Nemesha, I think he's going to leave too. So, and they're going to get a bit of money there too. So,
Yeah, and Nemesha actually did leave. I think he's at Wolfsburg he was another 8 million pounds out the door. But they've got a couple. Like there's a young American. Well, he's 24 now, but Eric Palmer Brown, they'll probably get 4 or 5 million for. And it's not it doesn't all add up to 150 million. And hey, here's Harry Kane, but revenues add to that, and transfer revenues add to that. So. It's seemingly good business, I suppose, but man, does it feel egregious when you're spending 150 million on one player?
It's true, and this is actually perfect because it connects to my final transfer I want to talk about, and that is a player that is leaving Chelsea in a way that is a smart profit and it's a good buck, and that is Tammy Abraham is going to Roma. It's a fantastic fit in my opinion. I think Mourinho. He's getting a fantastic player with Tammy Abraham. Because Tammy Abraham, I think, I'm going to go bold here, he gets 20 goals in Serie A. Woo! Tammy Abraham gets 20 goals in Serie A. I love Tammy Abraham going to Serie A into this role.
Okay, so he's duking it out with Zlatan, until Zlatan's 45. That's crazy.
And Zeku leaves Roma.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tammy Abraham is going to be the guy, this team. He's the guy. So it's 40 million. Another 40 million that Chelsea's going to get. Good business. Again, maybe they'll invest in Conde with this.
Sure. But most important there is I believe Chelsea also has a buyback clause, right? And I believe that's around 70 million or something like that.
80 million. It's 80
million.
Yeah,
80 million euros. Okay. I'd say pounds. But Tammy's 21, right? 21, I think.
I think he's old.
Might be 22. Something like that. Right?
22.
He's still a young guy. We're talking about him. He's got double-digit goals. This is a kid that Mourinho definitely called him, definitely talked to him, definitely said, "I believe in you," and he's going to put him front and center in Serie A. He's going to get playing game in, game out. And who knows? Maybe he'll be fighting Olivier Giroud at the top of the goal table in Serie A. But it's good business.
They have a pretty good team there, Roma. They got Matias Vinha too, to replace Spinazzola, injured. So I don't know. I'm liking Roma for this season. Let's see. We could talk afterwards about that. Do you have any?
All I care about is Zaniolo. Just Zaniolo being healthy all season and getting a full season in him. But yeah, we can talk about that in a little bit. But man, that is a big one, and it's just the business that needs to get done if you're bringing in a guy like Lukaku. That's for sure.
It's true. Do you have any transfer you wanna talk about?
I'm just happy that U.S. men's national team. Right. I don't think this is the best place for him, but we had 2 U.S. players, Matthew Hoppe and Josh Sargent, both relegated from the Bundesliga. both seemingly the best players on either team. Josh Sargent has landed in the Premier League, and he's already made his first appearance, and he's with Norwich City, so he's probably going to be fighting relegation again. But hey, I'm just happy that like we've got this market for young Americans that we've never seen before. None of this all pales in comparison to Lukaku, Messi, Abraham, and everybody. But hey, I felt like you got to give a shout out to the minnows of Norwich, trying to do what they can to stay up. And Christos Zolis, the Greek striker from yeah, and Sargent, that's good business in my opinion. And we'll see what happens.